Same furniture, 3 very different lounge rooms. Genius. Cop a load of Charlie's fancy plant stand. Why not build this bookshelf bust to get your kids on board with reading?
Oh, I think that looks pretty cool.
Maybe you've just moved into a brand new place, perhaps even finished renovating or looking for a brand new look for your lounge room. How do you do all of that easily without having to paint the walls or drill holes everywhere? Well, what I want to do is step you through 3 very different styles using key pieces of furniture. This just might have you feeling inspired for a fresh new change. If you've got young kids like me or teenagers at home, things can get pretty hectic. You don't want to go for a look that is too precious. Things need to be colourful, easy to maintain, and most of all, fun. Now, what I always suggest to people is to start with the things in the room that just can't be changed. In this case, the most dominant thing we can't change are the armchairs. Starting with blue, that's my base colour, I need to have colours that will accent well against it. Timber always goes well with blue, nature always goes well. Blue and orange, well, they're opposite on the colour wheel, which doesn't mean to say that you have to have full strength orange in there. You can have many shades of that and that will create a more harmonious effect. So in this case, we're going to go for this lovely clay pink and just bring it in with a pop of accent in mustard yellow. That will draw back the natural element. So all of this together will combine to create a really relaxed, friendly space. So let's start from the ground up. For this one, it's the rug that really does dictate the whole style of the room. What we've gone for is something really bright, happy, and colourful. Look at that, it's just a riot of colour. Now, what's so great about a rug like this in this space is we've gone from man-made fibre, which is incredibly practical, so you don't have to be too precious. With all of these colours and patterns going on, if there are little mishaps, no big deal. You're not going to lose any sleep over it. Water repellent, which means you can blot up little stains. Great if you've got pets as well. And in terms of laying it out, because we've got a big rug like this, you could choose to have it either widthways or lengthways. It's entirely up to you and how you place your furniture. Back in with the sofa. She's a bit of a plain Jane now, but just wait till we add a bit of colour. And to continue colour throughout the room, don't forget the art. A lot of people underestimate wall art and you don't have to spend a fortune. Mix it up. You can go for original art on canvas. You can even frame up some artwork. Even kids' drawings look fantastic once they're under glass and in a frame. Never forget a little bit of green in the room. Live plants go such a long way and last a lot longer than fresh flowers. And just a couple of books under there, just raise the height and just give it a bit more character and personality. Of course, some double-sided tape to fix your artwork to the wall would make them just a little bit more kid-friendly. To style up a couch, you know, cushions and throws really are your secret weapons. And as for throws, there's no real way of styling them. You can drape them how you like. You can even buy them thicker for warmth, but this one's purely for decoration. Start with your hero pillow. This is my one, which I'm going to place at the back. And you can feel that it's feather, it's soft. You can do a little karate chop if you want to, always optional. And here we've got another plane. Just nice detailing in there, just that little bit of texture just really does make such a difference. And here, just a polka dot, it's fun, but the pink picks up on the pink in the block cushion. Just offset that, just keep it relaxed and fairly casual. You'll probably notice I haven't had to paint the walls at all. It's all been done completely with accessories, which is easy enough to do. I always say for any look, you need to start off with what I call a jumping point, which is your inspiration for the whole space. And in this case, it was this beautiful rug. It's almost like painting a bold splash of colour right across the floor. Now, there are so many colours in here. Of course, we had the blue, so we were lucky there. But I've also drawn out this gorgeous ochre and this lovely clay pink, which are really on trend this season. But in terms of the shading, these are earth tones, which are nice and natural and easy enough to live with. And also, just by flipping the room around, taking the sofa from that side to here, creates more of an intimate space, which is really lovely for families. But what if you want something just a little more edgy and dramatic? How about monochromatic black and white? It scares a lot of people, I know, because they think the room will be cold and uninviting. But get it right and it can be superb. superb. So my secrets to getting it right are always work in shades of black and white. It doesn't have to be a strict black on white. Have some accessories that have curve in them as well. That just softens the harsh lines. And always remember to incorporate different types of textures and always a little bit of greenery. One of the biggest changes you can make in any room is to reconfigure the furniture. It gives you a whole new viewpoint. And remembering that these are the same pieces of furniture as we used in the look before, which I guess is why it's so important. When you're buying a big ticket item like a sofa, always go for a neutral colour if you can and clean classic lines. That way it'll take on lots of different styles of cushions and accents that you can throw at it over the years. So here is where we can start styling up to time with our monochromatic theme. When you're buying throws, don't just think of them for warmth, think of them as another layer of texture to a room. So this one's got this lovely knitted twist throughout, and it just adds that nice band of black, just gives you a nice backdrop. And as for colour, you can incorporate some colour into a monochromatic scheme. The reason why I'm incorporating blue here is to time with our accent chairs on the opposite side of the room. So this will add balance and help to unify the space. So one cushion on the back there, the black reinforces the look. This tiny little twist of black, it's a detail again, it's all about those little elements that bring the look together. Dressing a console like this for this kind of style is quite an exercise in discipline. You want just enough, but not too much. Keep everything edited. Start with your backdrop. Now this could be a mirror, in this case it's an artwork, and looking at the scale of the console, we could sit it this way. That fits in really nicely with the width, but I want more height to the room. So that's why I'm going to go portrait rather than landscape. And in terms of positioning, you could position right in the middle. I think that's a little bit boring. Offset it, it just keeps people guessing. So in this case, offset one artwork, and if you want to keep it really interesting, just add a second piece and just slightly overlap it. And that little bit of glass in there just adds a little bit of reflection throughout the room. So a pair of those just adds height and interest to a display. What I'm using here again is that pop of blue, which just brings the blue in from the chairs and the cushions. That's it. Don't overdo it. That is a beautiful scheme for a contemporary design. Oh, he looks great there. When shopping for indoor plants for this style of room, my recommendation would be to go for something that's quite structured and architectural. Mother-in-law's tongue is such a great plant, indoors and out. You used to see them a lot in the 70s, well, they're back on trend. Now, if you don't have quite so much money to spend on big pot plants, you could always build yourself a couple of these planter stands. Fairly easy, you could make them out of pine. And what they do is to elevate little pot plants, it makes more of a deal of them. They have big impact in a room. I think the key to getting this look spot on is being restrained with your palette and also repetition of colour. So having the black and white here on the sideboard, that's your focal point, and we've taken it around the room. So not only in the accents, but also in the little details in the cushioning and also the accents over here. Now remember, grey is a half tone of black and white, so having that as your neutral base down below ties in also with the sofa, so it magically works. What warms your black and white colour scheme is the natural elements, so it's plants and of course timber. Great for a young professional couple, or if you've got an apartment, or if you like styling just a little bit more clean. And now for my third look, you may have heard of it. It's known as the Hamptons. So what exactly is Hampton style? Well, it's a classic look. It's upmarket coastal chic. Kind of has that Ralph Lauren vibe. Now, natural elements really form the basis of this look, but most people know it as the blue and white kind of vibe. It is of the sea, so you want to make sure that you've got some natural elements in it. Flowers are always popular in Hampton style, as is coral and also glass, anything that connects it to the ocean. This time, the sofa stays in exactly the same position. It's the rug that sets the scene for the nautical coastal look. Now, you can't go past a stripe when you're trying to get this kind of style. If you don't have something like this at hand, you could use jute or sisal, anything that takes you to the seaside. This is beautiful and it really grounds the space. There are a few classic fabrics you want to look out for this style. One is ticking, which is this navy and white striped fabric. They used to actually cover mattresses with it, and you see it in a lot of vintage styles. And what it's often offset with is overscale florals. So beautiful. But to stop this becoming a little bit too on the feminine side, you want to pair it with a solid block colour. This navy blue paired with it just adds strength and uniformity to the look. Now for the front, again, it's an overscale floral, but with a white background. It just freshens up the whole scene. And you'll notice, sat there as a lumbar cushion, it still allows your eye to see these two cushions at the back. Now, one thing to remember with your cushions is go for a good, generous insert. These are feather-filled cushions, so plump and generous. That's because the inserts are one size larger than the size of the cushion cover. That's the secret to getting the perfect karate chop. Typically, Hampton's style has a lot of blue and white ceramics in it. It's a bit of a nod to an Oriental style, and it also incorporates ginger jars. This one is a bit of a showstopper, plain white but with this beautiful piercing and an overscale look. Scale is so important in any room. If you can have one or two pieces that are larger, it just adds impact and energy to the space. And what I like here is sat in front of this aerial view of the ocean, it just really pops and makes the blue sink back and you really appreciate the shape. Hampton's chic, I love it. It always is a winner. It doesn't matter if you live in the country or the city or by the sea, it just works. It has a fresh, vibrant energy that will just liven up any room. So I guess this goes to prove that really it doesn't matter if you're renovating or if you've moved into a new place or if you're just after a new look. Having the right key elements means you can build upon them. So for our look number one, we chose a family-friendly vibe. Lots of pops of colour and just a relaxed kind of element to make the whole family just feel like they were definitely at home. For our second look, we went for something with a little bit more contrast, something that was edgy and contemporary. Great if you live in the city and you just want that fuss-free kind of look. So styling like a designer is something I reckon anyone can do. It's just understanding the value and the power of accessories. Having the right key elements, it's kind of like a little black dress. You can just build upon it and create the look that you want to suit your style.
So you've got a bunch of indoor plants, but the question is, how do you display them? Well, the big guys like this are pretty easy. You put them in a nice pot and you're good to go. But how about these small guys? How do you show them off in an eye-catching display? Well, I'll show you how. I'm talking a plant stand, but not just any plant stand. This one's going to grab your attention and be just as much of a hero as the plants themselves. In fact, it's inspired by the cactus, and I'm making it out of this stuff, copper pipe. I've started with this 6-metre length of copper. It's only about $30, and I've cut it down into 1.5-metre lengths. So there's 4 of them, and I'm going to bend them to shape. But before we do that, I'm going to fill them with some sand. Now I'm going to be bending this pipe with a pipe bender. They're only about $40. Look a little bit like this from Bunnings. And the reason I filled the pipe with sand is so when you do bend it, it doesn't kink and wrinkle. Because it's filled with sand, the copper's got nowhere to go. So you get a nice, smooth finish. But before I start any of that, I need to draw out my shape to make sure I get it right. Yeah, you can see I'm doing a one-armed cactus. Let's hope I'm a better bender than I am a drawer. Anyway, I'm going to be doing this bottom curve first, so I need to mark out my pipe. There's a couple of tips when you're using a pipe bender. They look a lot more confusing than they are. Yep, goes that way. So, the first tip is the mark that you've made needs to go in on the 0 mark on the pipe bender. Then every bend you do from then on, the beginning of the curve has to go to the 0. That means it's going to stay nice and true, just like that. I also have a spacer. Now, I've got an offcut of copper, but you could use a piece of timber. That slots in there and stops this part of the pipe deforming and getting out of shape, which means our stand is going to stay nice and straight. Perfect. Right, as you can see, it's a little bit wobbly, so just a little bit of finessing by flattening it out on the bench. That's going to give us the perfect finish. That's starting to look really nice, and you can see the curves are really smooth and there's no kinks in them, and that's thanks to the sand. I'm definitely a better bender than I am a drawer. That's looking good. We're on to this top curve, though. Now, the pipe bender makes the curves too tight, so I'm going to use something else. And this is what I'm using. It's just a simple garden pot. You do need something quite sturdy. I'm just going to push it over the edge to form our shape. To make your plant stand, you're going to need 2 of these parts and 2 of the ones we made before. And before you start cutting, you need to take the tape off and get the sand out. The next stage is to get the 2 arms together of our shelf. So you lay it all out like this, and I'm just going to mark where the overhangs are, and I can cut through and we'll put a join there. And whilst I'm at it, I'll also mark out where the other shelves are going to go and make those cuts too. I'm just using a pipe cutter to give me a nice clean cut, but if you don't have one of these, you could use a hacksaw as well. We can start putting our plant stand together, and it starts with this. This is a piece of recycled timber that I've sanded and pre-drilled, and that's going to make our base that the bits of copper can sit in. To join the copper, I'm just using our offcuts and these simple T-pieces that cost $1.30. It's really important to do a dry run before you glue any of these joins. That way you can make sure everything's nice and smooth and spend a bit of time getting it just right, because once it's glued, that's it, it's done. Once you're happy with it, I think that looks pretty good, we're going to take it apart and glue all the joins. And I'm using a 2-part epoxy that sticks metal. Now, this has got a 5-minute working time, so it should give me enough time to get it all back together again. Well, what is a plant stand without shelves? I've taken this old hardwood fence paling, given it a bit of a sand, and put some holes in it. They'll simply rest in our new stand, and I'll tie them on with some copper wire. And there you have it, one plant stand. It's just missing a bit of greenery now. Of course, you could put any plants you want on this plant stand, but what better for a cactus plant stand than cactus plants? So for under 60 bucks in materials and a couple hours work, you can get yourself a pretty fancy way to display your plants.
Kids love buses and they love books, so wouldn't it be great to build something that combines the two? So it's time to get bussy and build something that fits the bill. All aboard! We're making a small bookshelf that looks like a bus, and it's super simple. It's something that you can get the kids involved with. To make this bus, I'm using some 140 by 19 dressed pine. You can buy it off the shelf in a 1.2 metre length for around $10, and you'll be able to make the whole bus out of one length. Now, this is the front and back of our bus, and we all know that they have windows in them, so that's what I'm doing next, marking out the windows. I'm going to be using a 20mm spade bit to create a hole in the top corners. That will give me the perfect curve, but also allow me to drop my jigsaw blade in and cut along the line. It's all the pieces cut and our edges rounded. Now we can start putting it together. First up, it's the bonnet, and I need to laminate these two bits together first with some glue and little brads, and then I'll attach it to the windscreen. I told you this was simple. The way it works, this is the base. Our front end can sit there, the back end goes on, and they'll get glued and nailed in place. We're ready to add some colour to this bus, and I've decided to paint it red. And a good tip is, instead of using a white undercoat, get it tinted grey. That way, when you put the red on, it gives it better coverage. How's the song go? The wheels on the bus go round and round? Well, this bus hasn't got any wheels, but not for long. I'm going to be using a hole saw to cut them out of the off-cut of pine that I've got left, but I'll be doing it along this top edge. That way, I've got a flat bit that can mount to our bus. I'm going to be painting these wheels black, and to make it easier so I don't have to hold them, I'm just sliding them onto this dowel. That way I can spray all around. And to finish the wheels off, I'm just putting in a nice thick gauge self-tapping screw, which will make it look like a hubcap, and I can just glue them in place. Same self-tapping screws act as headlights at the front, and I think that looks pretty cool. Now I just need to find somewhere to set it up. Told you it was simple, and it would look great in any kid's bedroom. And what a great way to get kids involved in a little build, but also encourage them to read. I think next time we might have to think about building a double-decker bus.
Well, it's a fairly chilly morning and the streets of the city are still fairly quiet, but I wanted to get up early to show you one of Mother Nature's incredible wonders. The aloe. Isn't it stunning? You know, middle of winter, early spring is its time to shine with these incredible flower spikes like flames of fire. Actually, I can almost keep myself warm here. I can't wait to show you the rest of this display. Aren't they spectacular? Dramatic architectural plants, really fitting for a city skyline. But what really are aloes? Well, they're not cactus, even though they've got sort of what appear to be sort of spines or thorns on the leaves. Most of them are actually quite soft. They're not dangerous to touch. The flowers, well, they come in a huge range of colours because there are 500 species. We don't know how many varieties there are, but you know, there's another little side to the aloe, and that's the magic of what's inside. When you split the leaf, that beautiful gel used for first aid for cuts and bruises, Cleopatra 6,000 years ago used to put it on her skin to give her this beautiful smooth skin. Alexander the Great, they were even grown on ships in pots in case people got cuts or burns. So that first aid gel is really important, and it still is today. A lot of people have them in pots at their back door for that odd scratch and cut on the knee. Diversity is the name of the game when it comes to aloes. The leaves, for example, which are there all year round, will give you that strong sort of architectural shape. This one here is a real bright silvery bluey colour. This fellow, more of a lime green. But of course, when it comes to colour, look at the flowers. This one here is bicolour, 2 different colours. The flowers start out sort of an orangey red colour, but as they age, the older flowers, which are at the bottom, turn a beautiful cream, giving you that contrast. Round the corner here, we've got a smaller flower, but lots of them, and it's really a glistening orange colour. And then down the front there, there's a beautiful, soft, creamy yellow just coming into bloom. Now, this section of the gardens is quite different. It's actually the cactus and succulent garden where they've combined the 2 groups together, and you can see the differences really easily. But they've also got a great collection of aloes. And then you could see within that group, the diversity is quite incredible. Some of them are more compact, sitting squat on the ground. Others are medium-sized. Others are tall and elegant and really quite spectacular. Aloes have a couple of really handy little tricks for the home gardener. They develop these pups on the side, just like a bromeliad, in fact, so you can get a sharp knife, scrape it back, and just cut those off and plant them into pots, share them, or put them in other parts of the garden, and you end up with these nice little clusters. They also grow really well in this volcanic scoria. I noticed they've also got some crushed roof tile mixed in with it, so it has fabulous drainage. The other thing that's interesting, like palm trees, they have this skirt of the old leaves that don't drop off. They just hang there. Now, some people don't like it, others think it's a real interesting feature. Whatever it is, it makes aloes very different. I got to say, aloes are the lowest maintenance plant you could ever have in a garden. There's just nothing to worry about. No insects, no diseases, but you might want to prune off these old flower spikes. As they finish, they can look a little bit untidy. And just put the stems in the compost because they break down really easily. And if you're new to gardening, then definitely give aloes a try. Now, there's one little tip that you might want to remember. Like most succulents and cacti, they don't like wet feet. So raise the beds up, bit of timber, few bricks, whatever, raise the beds up, or maybe mound the garden bed to ensure you've got really good drainage, because we do get the odd storm, and when it rains and the soil's wet for anything like a day or two, they'll get wet feet and they'll rot off. Aren't they spectacular? Terrific colour. A real oasis for all of us to enjoy. But of course, the insects, the birds and the bees love them just as much. And they'll be fantastic in your garden, just as they are right here in the heart of the city.